That's right, another brand new Round 2 Wrestling podcast is now available for your listening pleasure. Happy 4th of July. This is Round 2 Wrestling and its 4th of July special. I am SlimmDa KID, and I personally want to thank you, the fan, for tuning in all year to Round 2 Wrestling. This week's episode is a little bit different. It is 4th of July week, so we are going to keep the theme, and we have a 4th of July podcast for you to enjoy. It's going to be similar yet different to our traditional broadcast. We are going to keep the round system, so round 1 is the pro wrestling rumor mill. This is full of gossip and what-ifs from the past week and weekend. We'll jump right into round 2, which is the actual 4th of July special portion of this week's Round 2 Wrestling, before we conclude with Round 3, a fan and producer favorite, Did You Know Pro Wrestling Facts. However, we're going to kick things off how we traditionally do, put our ear to the scanner and take a listen to the gossip that's floating around in the world. This is Round 1, the Pro Wrestling Rumor Mill. Alrighty, for what it's worth, Dave Meltzer said on Wrestling Observer Radio that Vince McMahon's office at WWE headquarters remains empty, and the T-Rex skull up on the wall still remains. WWE recently filed trademarks on the terms WWE Independent Development and WWE ID. The applications indicate they'll be used for training programs and or content about them. During a call with the media yesterday, AEW's Tony Khan said Britt Baker is, quote, close to ready for an AEW return and should be back, quote, very soon. AEW's website claims that former WCW star Glacier, modeled after the wildly popular Mortal Kombat character Sub-Zero, has been hired by AEW as a producer and coach. Hiromu Takahashi told New Japan Pro Wrestling USA fan club that he went to a urologist for the first time and was told that he, quote-unquote, has very nice balls. Per The Observer, Bryan Danielson is, quote, expected to have a major turnaround, end quote, in his kayfabe success in AEW after losing several big matches so far in his final year as a full-time pro wrestler. WrestleTix points out there's a Ticketmaster listing for AEW Grand Slam on Wednesday, September 25th at Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York City. This taping includes both Dynamite and Collision. Sean Ross Sapp said he's heard there have been talks for how to bring AEW's Sammy Guevara back to AEW television, and it's, quote, outside-the-box stuff planned for his return, end quote. AEW's Tony Khan told Wrestling Observer Radio he's considering launching an injury report show to keep fans informed on injuries to AEW talent. According to another PW Insider report, WWE expects to have NBA stars Tyrese Halliburton and Jalen Brunson back on shows, quote, when it works for each of them, end quote. No more rumors to talk about this week. That is the end of round 1. Let's jump into the biggest portion of our new Round 2 Wrestling podcast. This is Round 2, our 4th of July special. Here we go. Pro wrestling and holidays go hand in hand like peas and carrots. With that being said, our nation's Independence Day is no stranger to surprises when it comes to the world of professional wrestling. Here are a few of the bigger moments in pro wrestling that took place on the USA's birthday. 1983, WCCW Independence Day Star Wars was held in Fort Worth, Texas. On the show, David Von Erich defeated Jimmy Garvin to become the WCCW Texas Heavyweight Champion. 1984, WCCW Independence Day Star Wars was held again in Fort Worth, Texas. In the opening match, Iceman King Parsons defeated Bill Irwin in a singles match to win the WCCW American Tag Team titles for himself and Buck Zumhofe. 1987, NWA, the Great American Bash, was held at the Omni in Atlanta, Georgia, and is notable for the debut of the War Games match, created by Dusty Rhodes. The match, inspired by the film Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, usually involves two teams of wrestlers that enter a steel cage that surrounds two rings. Two start off inside the structure with alternating teammates allowed in at certain intervals and is won by a single pinfall or submission. In the main event of the show, the Road Warriors, that's Animal and Hawk, Nikita Koloff, Dusty Rhodes, and Paul Ellering defeated the Four Horsemen, or the team of Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Lex Luger, Tully Blanchard, and J.J. Dillon, in the opening War Games match. 1989, Ed Leslie, better known as Brutus the Barber Beefcake, suffered serious facial injuries while parasailing in Florida. It took 8 steel plates, more than 40 screws, and 100+ staples to repair his face. 1993, arguably the most famous American 4th of July moment in pro wrestling history. Lex Luger arrives by helicopter and landed aboard the USS Intrepid battleship in New York City. The reason? He was answering the challenge set by the 627-pound Yokozuna that no one could body slam him. Wrestlers and sports stars alike lined up to lift the big man. Rick and Scott Steiner, Tatanka, Crush, Randy Savage, as well as NBA player Scott Burrell, Bill Fralick of the Detroit Lions, and Joe Morris and Peter Talangetti of the Pittsburgh Penguins all tried and failed. Just as it looked like Yokozuna had the challenge won, Luger arrived decked out in the stars and stripes, hit Yoko with his steel plate-infused forearm, hoisted him up, and slammed him to the canvas. USA! 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 1994, WWF referee Joey Marella, adopted son of Gorilla Monsoon, is killed in an auto accident on the New Jersey Turnpike while traveling from a WWF Superstars taping in Ocean City, Maryland. He was 31 years old. 2000, WWF SmackDown was taped at the National Car Rental Center in Sunrise, Florida. Val Venis becomes the international champion when he defeated Rikishi. 2005, a returning Hulk Hogan and Shawn Michaels defeated Carlito and Kurt Angle in the main event of WWE Monday Night Raw in Sacramento, California. Following the match, Michaels hit Hogan with Sweet Chin Music to turn heel and set up what would become the infamous Icon vs. Icon match at that year's SummerSlam. 2006, in the main event of the WWE ECW show, The Big Show defeated Rob Van Dam to become the ECW champion and the first person to have held the WWF, WCW, and ECW World Championship titles. 2010, Day 9 of the All Japan Pro Wrestling crossover was held in Osaka, Japan. In the night before the match between Akebono and Taiyo Kei, they were able to beat Ryota Hama and Suwama to win the All Japan Pro Wrestling World Tag Team titles. 2012, WWE Hall of Famer Bruno Sammartino declines his initial WWE Hall of Fame induction invitation. The long-reigning WWE champion turns down a Hall of Fame induction again. Eventually, he would walk it back a few months later and take his rightful place in 2013. That is it for some of the more notable events that took place on 4th of July. And while these are some of the more notable events on the 4th, plenty of other events have also occurred. Here are a couple of the more notable births, deaths, and debuts of wrestlers that took place on Independence Day. Born in 1930, was George Steinbrenner, a well-known wrestler in the New York area. Also in 1960, Barry Windham was born on the 4th of July. However, in 1988, adorable Adrian Adonis, a well-known person in WWF and also a well-known cigarette smuggler, was killed in a car accident on his way home from Canada. A few of the more notable, returns or debuts that took place on the 4th of July. In 2004, QT Marshall made his debut, while in 2009, Blue Star also made his debut to the squared circle. Independence Day is no stranger to title matches. What better way to celebrate the birth of our nation than by defending your title for the whole country to see? Up next are a few of the more notable title matches that took place on the 4th of July. In 2002, Edge and Hulk Hogan successfully defeated WWE Tag Team Champions Billy and Chuck to become the new WWE Tag Team Champions. In 2006, as previously stated, Big Show defeated RVD, that is Rob Van Dam, in an Extreme Rules match to win the ECW World Championship. In 2015, Finn Balor defeated Kevin Owens to win the NXT Championship on the 4th of July. That is the end of round 2 and our 4th of July special. We are going to conclude this brand new round 2 wrestling with round 3. Did you know? Did you know are little bits of information and facts about the wrestling world that you may or may not have known about. You gotta love the bell. Did you know James Fullington got his wrestling name from spotting a billboard while driving that advertised a store that sold beds and mattresses called Mr. Sandman? He liked the name and became Mr. Sandman before morphing into just the Sandman. Did you know the Anoa'i family has main evented 17 of 40 WrestleManias, and that is the bloodline family line that is going on right now in WWE. Those matches included WrestleMania 9, Yokozuna versus Bret Hart, WrestleMania 10, Yokozuna versus Bret Hart again, WrestleMania 15, The Rock versus Steve Austin, WrestleMania 16, The Rock versus Triple H versus Big Show versus Mick Foley. WrestleMania 17, Rock versus Austin again. WrestleMania 28, Rock versus Cena. WrestleMania 29, Rock versus Cena again. WrestleMania 31, Roman Reigns versus Lesnar versus Seth Rollins. WrestleMania 32, Reigns versus Triple H. 33, Reigns versus The Undertaker. WrestleMania 34, Reigns versus Lesnar. WrestleMania 37, Reigns versus Bryan Danielson and Edge. WrestleMania 38, Reigns versus Lesnar again. WrestleMania 39, The Usos versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. And WrestleMania 39, Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. We also have WrestleMania 40, The Rock and Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. And also this year's main event, Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. That family has absolutely owned WWF. And did you know the Ultimate Warrior was the first WWF champion to defend the title at both the Royal Rumble and SummerSlam Advance? And did you know Trinity Fatu / Naomi is the only wrestler to appear on the 1000th episode of Raw, SmackDown, and TNA Impact Wrestling? That draws to a conclusion this 4th of July special. I am your host, SlimmDa KID, and I want to wish you a happy 4th of July. Stay safe, eat a couple hot dogs, and tune in next week for a brand new Round 2 Wrestling where I bring you more news, more rumors, and more results from the world of professional wrestling.